folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
Welcome into Growth Profits.
Coming to you live each week.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
We are so happy to have you for today's show because the topics of today are the most exciting conversation that you will have on your entire day. So maybe you're driving around, you're listening to this podcast, you're thinking, oh man, these guys are about to lay some heavy truth upon me.
Dropping some knowledge.
These guys are about to drop some knowledge up on me. And excuse me. And indeed we are. Today is one of the, if not the, biggest opportunities is a good way to put it, that we see in practices that we work with in all of our programs across the board. And that is this concept of assigning tasks versus delegating authority. One of the biggest challenges that we hear, if I'm speaking, no matter where it is, I'm speaking in the country, one of the biggest challenges that we hear is, if I just had a team of people who would take ownership, if I just had a team of people who would take my business seriously. And then what we find is, and we'll give you a couple of good examples of this in just a second, but what we find is 100% of the time, the reason the team is not taking ownership is because the leadership, the doctors, are more than likely assigning specific tasks to be able to do rather than delegating authority over those areas. And so we're going to talk about sort of what that looks like and give you some really good examples. And then we'll give you some specifics that you can take away so that you do not run into this situation. Or if you are a member of the team and you're driving around listening to this and you're giving us an air high five.
What if they're not driving? Why? They might not be driving. They may be sitting at home listening to it. Maybe wherever you are, and you're tuning in to this great example
if you're getting
knowledge.
To the dropping of the knowledge.
Yeah.
If you're tuning in and you wherever you are, my point was, can I just say my point?
Yes.
If you want to give us a big air high five, boom, then we would love to hear that. Mention it down below in the comments sections. Or if you don't agree with what we're saying, mention that as well. We would always, always, always love to hear from you. So this concept of assigning tasks versus delegating authority. Let me say this real quick, and then I'm going to let you talk. The most important, or one of the best examples of this is a great book by, and I wanted to pull it up because I don't have the book right here with me today. I think it was by Marquette, and the book is called Turn the Ship Around. And, of course, I'm not going to be able to find it right here. But I'm pretty sure the author's name is Marquette. It's called Turn the Ship Around. Really, really good book. Turn the Ship Around. About the whole concept of delegating authority as opposed to assigning tasks.
It's by David Marquette.
I knew it was Marquette. Great book. Tip number one, go get that book. If you're interested in learning how to take your business to the next level, that is a really great book.
It's actually on our website, thecrabtreegroup.com.
There you go.
If you go to thecrabtreegroup.com,
click on good stuff.
Click on good stuff. That book is on there. You can order it straight from our website.
Great book, all about how to delegate authority with real-world examples of how he used that in his military career as a ship captain and what he learned about things that he could have done differently in the past and how he implemented those things for his future work with certain ships. Really, really good book. So a great plug to him. We should get him on a podcast.
We should.
Hey, we should make a note of that. Seriously, we should get him on a podcast. So this concept of assigning tasks, one of the biggest challenges that we hear once again is my people are not taking responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, what we find is that's because the leadership is simply telling them what to do. I know we've said it before. You're going to hear us say it again. If you are an entrepreneur, and everybody who is listening to this is an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, then you have to get clear on why you have people on your team. If they're here for you to assign their tasks, then you tell them what to do, and they will come back to you and wait further instruction. And that's not what you're looking for, right?
Or they'll do it when you ask them to do it, and then when you're not around, they won't do it. or it won't get done.
Because they're waiting on somebody to tell them what to do. And so this concept is, if you want to be great, listen, it's been proven time and time again, no one person is going to be nearly as successful as an entire group of people as long as that group is not acting as one person. If you've got one person calling all the shots and everybody else is doing what that person tells them to do, that's not a team of people. But if you've got a group of people where everybody has areas of responsibility, now all of a sudden the factor is multiplied. And so now it makes sense that more people are much more successful as a group than a single person. So that's the thing I want to say. If you want to go ahead and tell your example, I mean, it's up to you.
No, I mean,
because I'll tell another example.
No, my example is, when we're talking about don't assign tasks to delegate authority, we have different levels of coaching programs that the Crabtree Group offers. And I had
we got officers too.
Officers. And I had an example of a doctor that we worked with that really had a challenge with delegating authority. Some people might call it micromanagement, right?
This example I'm thinking about, it was double down on micromanagement.
It was situations where he's allowing the patients to totally take control of the team, allowing the patients to totally take control of himself and of his vision. He was going to the front and he was grabbing the telephone, answering the intake calls, jumping on the phone when the front desk is on the phone with the intake call. Completely taking the authority away from whatever they're doing. That if there's a financial conversation and the patient gave him a little bit of blowback, for lack of a better word, he would jump in the middle of that conversation. So,
no, more specifically, okay, I got it. So there was one time when there's a particular front desk she left, because of the situation, but she was on the phone with a patient, and the doctor left his patient chair side to come up, and he told the young lady to put the patient on hold, and he said, "I want you to do exactly what I say." And then, okay, so she got the patient off of hold. She started doing exactly what he said. No, it wasn't good enough. Nope, do it this way. He wouldn't even let her get through the conversation. And so I would call that micromanaging.
Yeah, micromanaging.
Now, in his mind, the reason he was, for lack of a better word, justifying, telling people step by step, and then stopping them and interrupting and get involved and all of that, was because he couldn't get them to take ownership. Now, what we did over time is have him to understand that the best way is not to
tell somebody
assign
what to do,
tasks and tell them what to do, but instead to give them the authority over the area. If you're looking for, look, all of us want more responsibility. It's human nature to want more responsibility. But if you don't give it to me and you only tell me what it is that you want me to do, I'll do it. And then I'll wait for you to tell me the next thing. So I'm not going to take ownership. A great way to look at it is like this. Your team, when they want the responsibility, but you're going to have to allow them and even hold them accountable for taking the authority over the area, or they're not ever going to put themselves in position to go seek out the solution on their own. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
They have no reason to seek out the solution if you've not given them the authority over it.
And the team has no reason to, what we call be able to dance in traffic, right? If I tell somebody to do something one way exactly, and then, for instance, an intake call, if I give you a script and I say, Sean, you need to answer this phone this exact same way and say these exact same words every single time, what's going to happen when the patient throws that person a curveball?
That's a good point.
They're not going to know how to hit it because I've told you to do it exactly this way. You're not focused on finding out the outcome, or you're not focused on dancing in traffic.
So essentially what you're saying is, when you assign someone the tasks, you relieve them of the authority of being able to, what we call, dance in the traffic,
or find out the solution themselves,
find the solution,
or you never know. You never know how powerful your team members can be until you assign them authority and you hold them accountable for making decisions in their areas to get the results.
There was a great article that I just did a little YouTube video on last week about this very thing. The article, actually, it was a couple of years old, in the Harvard Business Review. And the author of the article basically compared management to two types of approaches: a surgeon's approach or a psychiatrist's approach. And she basically said that, in today's business world, very, very few problems require a surgical approach, and almost 100% of the problems require a psychiatrist approach. And basically, the whole thing was that, in a surgical scenario, the doctor goes in, or in this case, the leader goes in. There's a specific few steps that you follow every single time, and you'll get the desired outcome. But that's just not the way that business works. It's more like a collaborative approach, because frankly, today's challenges in business are all collaborative type challenges. And so assigning tasks only puts you in a position of having the whole big machine revolve right around you. And you know what? Maybe you like that, but I can guarantee you're going to be limited in your results, because again, no one person can be as successful as a group of people with individual responsibilities who are seeking the overall same goal. That's just a fact.
You're not only limiting your results, you're limiting your potential. Right. You can not. There's no way you could double your practice or triple your practice.
That's what I said, right?
No, not in those terms. You said you're limiting your results. But what I'm saying is there's potential out there to be had by, allowing people on your team. Listen, this is the age of the knowledge worker.
That's what Stephen Covey says.
The age of the knowledge worker.
That's what Stephen Covey says.
If you don't have people around you that you're empowering to use their mind to be responsible for results, then you're missing the boat. All you have is worker bees. And we don't want worker bees. In entrepreneurship, you want teams.
You want people who are thinking like you're thinking.
Yeah.
And the trick is to help them to think. That's part of the big issue.
3 big takeaways for this, right? So don't assign tasks. We want to delegate authority. First takeaway, step 1, assign areas of responsibility for your team. I would say that 99% of you guys that are out there listening to this have not done this. Assign areas of responsibility for your team.
This is very important. We should break this down, because if I'm listening to this, it would be easy to go, well, I already have, my hygienist
does hygiene.
She's responsible for hygiene. That's not what we're talking about.
We're not talking about do tasks. We're talking about responsibility
for outcomes.
Right.
We're talking about responsibility for an area. And so what we're talking about, to use that scenario, is if I'm a hygienist, I may be doing hygiene, but that's not what we're talking about. In this scenario, what we're talking about is if I am over the hygiene department. Now, that's a different scenario.
Right.
So if you're giving me the responsibility to be over that area, that's a lot different than doing the task. Now, it may certainly be that part of that is I'm going to do some tasks. But you're looking for me to take responsibility over the area as a whole. That's what you're saying, right?
Totally. Step 2, give authority to come up with a plan
or an idea.
Right? So I want to, step 1, assign those responsibilities, those areas. Step 2, I want to give that person that's over that area the authority to come up with a plan. And also, I didn't say this, but the support to come up with a plan. You need to give them the knowledge, the information that they need to be able to come up with that plan in that area. Give them an example of a good plan.
Well, the first thing I was going to talk about is kind of the difference, the way I see it anyway, in terms of responsibility versus authority. And I think that's a huge, huge point. I can have responsibility over an area, but if I don't have the authority to be able to come to the table, and this is what you're talking about in number 2. Yeah. If you as the leader don't give me the authority to come to the table with a plan and the authority to be able to manage the resources, et cetera, necessary to be able to get that, then I don't really have the responsibility over the area. So responsibility, first of all, is what you need to give me, but then you need to give me the authority to be able to make decisions. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to that doesn't mean that because you own the business, you have this person who you've given the authority over the checkbook, and and that means that you don't know what the heck's going on. It's not like that at all. It's about pushing the authority down so that you're putting one of your team members in a position to be able to make decisions. Now, when Cameron's talking about a plan, that's probably the best way to approach it. I'm not going to go spend a whole bunch of money. I mean, I don't know why I just brought the checkbook thing. I shouldn't have done that, but it could be any area. It's not about me having the authority to go spend all the money. It is about me having the authority over the area and then come to the table and then communicating how I believe spending this money in this way is going to support perhaps our vision, our patients, our team, and our bottom line profitability, which, as you saw in a couple of shows ago, we sort of challenged you to figure out what it is that you're trying to serve. So give me the authority to come up with a plan and bring that to the table so that I am indeed fully responsible for the area. Does that make any sense at all?
Yes, yes.
So number one, assign areas of responsibility. Number two, give the people who are over those responsibilities the authority to come to the table with ideas and plans.
And give them support and knowledge that they may need. They may need to know more information than they already know that you may have, that they need to have.
Or maybe that you don't have.
That you need to find out.
That you need to find out, right?
Step 3, you want to hold your team accountable, not for doing the tasks, but for taking the authority.
And it's a two-way street, right? Like, you have to give your team member the authority, but then you also have to hold them accountable for taking that authority. Now, and by the way, I mean, we're talking about dentistry. You know what? If you're a CPA, if you're an attorney, if you're in the service industry, this is about entrepreneurship. This is about growing your business.
You got a heating and air company. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. It's the same conversation across the board. I want to give my team the ability to take on that authority. And like I said a minute ago, it's a two-way street. You got to hold them accountable for that. If there's been a little bit of water under the bridge, for lack of a better word, where you've been assigning tasks, now all of a sudden you give them the authority, they're not going to know what to do with it. They're probably not going to take it right away, right? So they may come to you, and we see this happen quite a bit. Just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do, right? This is something we face a lot of times with guys in our entrepreneurial program.
How do you want me to do it? Right.
So the doctor has given me the authority and the responsibility to take on this area of increasing new patients. So, Cameron, tell me what to do. Well, that's not taking the authority. You as the leader are going to have to challenge them a little bit by asking, well, what do you think you should do? Well, let me ask you, what are you trying to serve? I'm trying to serve my team. I'm trying to serve my patients. I'm trying to serve my vision. And I'm trying to serve my bottom line profitability. Great. Then write down what you think needs to happen and come to the table. It'll take a little bit of practice, but listen, as the leader of the ship, this is how you create a team of people who are all working toward a common goal. And if you don't have this, you have the opposite, which is the whole big machine is revolving around you and you're the pivot man and you are working yourself silly and you're not getting stuff done. And I mean this with love, but it's just the facts of it are you're not getting things done.
Putting it off,
because you're working that's right. You're working your tail off and then you plan to come in on your off day, do all this other stuff. But you know what? You got kids, you got a life, and stuff doesn't get attended to in a high enough manner. So what you do instead is follow these three steps that we're throwing out to you.
And ask questions. Like Sean said, when someone comes to you and says, hey, tell me what to do. Hey, how do I do this? Rather than you going into a 3-minute conversation of an explanation of what to do, ask them, what do you think you should do? Who's responsible for that area, right? Joanne's responsible for that area. Okay, so do we have a game plan for that area?
Right. And
what do you think you should do? So ask questions back. Don't just give the answers.
And again, the reason that that's so important is because if your whole goal is what we're talking about here and you're trying to delegate authority, if in that moment somebody's coming to you and saying, tell me what to do, and you tell them what to do, you have stripped them of the authority right there. You have relieved them of the responsibility.
They've become a worker bee.
And now you're back into square one. And again, you are cultivating the very thing that you don't want. You don't want to be the pivot man which the whole machine is revolving around, right? That's not what you're trying to do. So you've got to stay consistent, right? Hold them accountable for taking that authority, even when in the moment it might feel like it's more comfortable, or it might feel like it's quicker just to tell them what to do. If you do that, just know that you're sabotaging their growth, you're sabotaging your growth, and you absolutely are not sowing the seeds of higher patient care. And there's no way that you're going to reap bigger profits. And that's what we're trying to get you to do here on Dental Profits, is make
money. Get that big money, honey.
So recap it. Give us the commandments and what's the prophecy. I'll get a prophecy.
Go ahead.
No, you get the commandments.
Oh, step 1, assign areas of responsibility.
So take notes.
These are not do tasks.
If you're listening, grab a pen.
These are be things of responsibility.
Very important to write this down.
Give authority to come up with a plan or an idea, not authority to do something. You want to delegate the authority. Step 3, you want to hold the team accountable, not for doing tasks, but for taking that authority. Hold them accountable for being a leader. Hold them accountable for taking ownership in your business.
And the prophecy is, if you follow those 3 steps, you can indeed begin to sow the seeds of higher quality care, and that'll put you on the road to reaping the rewards of higher dental profits. And that is our goal for you, this and every show. This has been Dental Profits. Thank you so much for joining in. Please, 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 please hit the subscribe button, share the videos, give us comments, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Research us. Go find us at thecrabtreegroup.com, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Send us an email with questions. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Until next week's show, make more money.
See you guys next week.